Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Christy, and today I'm participating in the 3 Rivers Challenge, which is a pantry challenge. And I wanted to share something that a recipe of mine that's been in my family for a long time. And I wanted to share this recipe with you today. In the case that there is an emergency, in the case that you are stuck at home or you're unable to go to the grocery store, and it's no longer just a challenge and it's more of a necessity. So something I would really consider is making sure you have certain items in your pantry so that you can make a recipe like this one that will get you by and will be warm comfort for you or your family in the case that you're snowed in or some sort of an emergency occurs and you cannot leave your home. So those things are some sort of a flour, whether it is a wheat flour, whether it is some sort of, like a chickpea flour, whatever it is you're using, some sort of a flour, rice flour, doesn't really matter, just some sort of flour, even oat flour. I would always recommend having a big bag of oats in your home, in your pantry, simply because, sorry, I'm distracted. My horses are playing outside my window. It's really cold and they're playing, trying to warm up. But one of the things that I would necessarily always make sure it's a necessity is a big bag of organic oats in your pantry. The reason for that is because you can actually make milk out of oats. You can make all kinds of nutritious dishes and foods. But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about oats in this video is because you can use oats to make an oat flour and you can use oats to make an oat milk. So that's just a staple that you can use. You can use that one item to make this recipe. This recipe, it has 4 ingredients. You actually only need 2 ingredients, but it amplifies this recipe to have all 4 of the ingredients. And those ingredients are some sort of a flour. Now this is just regular flour that I'm using today. I would have loved to have ground up some oat flour for this video for you, but my blender is wet, so I can't really use it right now, and I do have stuff to use up in my fridge. So the first thing is flour of whatever sort. The second thing is salt. Salt is an essential thing for you to have in your pantry and that you would use in this recipe. The other is honey, raw honey, not processed honey or pasteurized honey, raw honey. You actually have to go to a farmer or farmer's market to get raw honey. The 4th ingredient that is an essential is some sort of a milk product, whether it is an oat milk or a dairy milk or like some sort of, even you could even use coconut milk, and you can even have shredded coconut in your pantry that you can then use to make a milk out of. But you have to remember that usually if there's like an emergency, a lot of the times you don't have the option to use a high-powered blender. So you may want to freeze some of this so that in the case that your power goes out, it's going to thaw out anyways. One option for having some sort of a milk in your pantry is to either freeze dry some if you have a freeze dryer, or get a friend to freeze dry some dairy or some milk products like cashew milk or coconut milk or almond milk or oat milk. Then you have shelf-stable milk product that is a staple in your home. And as long as you have like these 4 ingredients, a milk of some sort, a flour of some sort, raw honey, and salt, you are set for having this emergency recipe in the case of you unable to get out. And the reason I know this recipe is because I had a childhood where we didn't always have a lot. I remember this was always a comfort food for me when I was a little girl. When I was around 7 years old, my mom used to make this a lot when my dad had cancer, and we didn't have a lot of money to buy groceries, and we lived a 30-minute drive out of town in conditions that were northern Alberta, so it gets really cold, stuff like that. So I remember many times having this recipe as a comfort food because it was an emergency. We were stranded at home. There was no money to go purchase groceries, or even the capability of getting to town to go buy groceries. And so this was a recipe that my family had brought with them. They are immigrants. And so as refugees from war, this kind of stuff is a staple in any household of, you know, people that were in the same situation as my family were in. This recipe comes from Germany, and it's something that my family feels or uses as a comfort or as an emergency in the case that we cannot get out of our home or do not have the financial, or not so much now, but back then when they didn't have the financial means to be able to go and buy because there was nothing available. So this is just, it's something old that my family has done, and I learned how to do it, and I always felt it was a comfort to me. It might seem really weird to some people, but when you've grown up on this in situations of extreme emergency and poverty, you understand and appreciate how this may feel comforting to somebody. So I hope that you take my recipe and adapt it to yourself as you will. If you do decide to try it, please don't be critical. Please don't, because you never know what somebody is going through. Okay, so let's get started. That's how you make milk soup. My mom calls it poverty soup. There's all kinds of different names for it. All I know is this is the broke as shit breakfast. But it's something that my family really likes. I love it. My aunts and uncles, they all love it. My brothers, I don't know if they do. I'm not sure. But my family all really love this recipe. And I guess it's because we were raised on it more than we would like to admit. Things have changed. Definitely don't need to cook poverty soup anymore, but you know what? I'm glad I have this skill and the knowledge to know that I will have a really quick and easy meal in the case of emergency with just a couple really basic staples. I used cashew milk. You could use cow's milk. You could use any kind of milk you want. You could even do this as a broth instead and just make dumplings, really. They're just dumplings. Just don't put the honey in the broth. Quick tip. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. My pantry challenge for today was cranberry chicken with brown mushroom rice. I started with some just organic brown rice that I found in my pantry. It definitely was there for a while. And I added 2 pints of turkey broth that I had pressure canned up. You'd seen that in another video I had done last month. I didn't have any fresh mushrooms, but I did have some that I had freeze dried, and I just took a few handfuls and just crumbled them up in the rice and broth. and put it on the stove. I seasoned up some chicken breasts that I had thawed out, heated up some oil on the stove. I had 2 pans going, one for the cranberry sauce and one for the chicken. The cranberries that I found in my freezer were actually brought a gift. A lady had picked some in our area and she brought me some as a gift. So I was really excited when I found those in my freezer. And I also had some leftover cranberry sauce that I wanted to use up to eliminate the sugar that I'm adding to the sauce. I just used the cranberry sauce leftover. I also added some onion, freeze-dried onion to the sauce mixture. Just throwing on the chicken into the hot pan, giving the cranberries a stir. As you can see, it was a little busy on the stove today, which is pretty typical when you're cooking from scratch. And I added probably about 1/2 cup of water just because I knew that the berries, like, they were frozen, so I knew there was going to be a lot of water in them, and I didn't want to end up cooking it down forever. I added about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and I ended up adding about just a little over a tablespoon of ginger, some Himalayan salt, and about 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. This is some thyme that I rubbed up and kind of reactivated the oils in it. I love thyme. Usually I have it fresh, but I don't. The chicken is kind of getting a nice little, I like that little golden crust on the chicken when you cook it in cast iron, and that was what I was going for. The rice is doing okay. It smelled really good, by the way. What I decided to do instead of adding honey or sugar to the sauce, I just took a tablespoon of raw honey, and I wanted to sweeten it up a little bit but not waste a bunch of ingredients in the sauce. So I just smeared some honey on top of the chicken. Just giving this a good stir. I didn't want to cook the chicken all the way through on the frying pan because I didn't want it to dry out too much. I just wanted that nice golden color, and I wanted the sauce to reduce, the cranberry sauce to reduce, and I'm just kind of smushing it up and just kind of getting it spread out and ready to pour over. And as you can see, I poured it over, and it made a mess everywhere, by the way, because the cast iron was super hot. But it was worth it. It was totally worth the mess. Definitely, it smelled amazing. It tasted so, so good. But anyway, popped it in the oven and I baked it. This is the end result. I just garnished it with a little bit of parsley and served it up. Tyson absolutely hates rice. He did eat this rice though, and the chicken was a big hit. He enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I will definitely be making this more often, and I will make more time to go pick some cranberries in the 2022 season. So I hope you enjoy. You'll find the recipe for this in the comments. I had not exactly followed the recipe, but there's one that I was inspired by, and I'll post it down below for you. I hope you enjoy. Thank you for watching. So much love. Bye for now.